Tonight we're discussing It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Hi, good.
Okay, as we wait for a few more to join, I know we have some newcomers today, so if anybody wants to go around and just introduce yourselves quickly. Lindsay, you were the first one to join, so we'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay. This is my first meeting with you guys, so I'm excited to be here.
I'm happy to. Lindsay sped read both books in a week.
It was 3 days.
Christina, aka Jack Formosa.
Oh, sorry. It says Jake. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
These are still set up from virtual learning stuff or whatever. Hi, I'm Tina. And I also sped read as well because I forgot that it was today, and Christy reminded me this weekend. So when I was driving back, I downloaded it and read it in a day and a half. So
Oh my goodness.
it was good. It was good.
Allie.
Hi. Sorry, I just showered, so I have wet hair.
It's okay.
I read the book a while ago, right when it came out. I somehow got lucky and got it right when it was released. So hopefully I remember.
Me too. And I didn't refresh. Where's your roomie?
She's working.
Oh,
so.
I thought she was coming. She had replied.
Oh, maybe she'll show up then.
Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy. What are we saying?
Just
so.
yourself.
That's it.
If you want. Vanessa, hi.
Hi. So I actually listened to them on my way to work and on my way home. So that's the best way for me to be able to read because of my girls. So I was able to, in December, read the first book, and then I just finished it yesterday, the second one.
Right on time.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with audiobooks. There's a few girls that do that, especially the moms with little kids.
Yeah, no, I was totally against it. And then I tried it. I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. I can do this.
It's good. It was the only way that I didn't want to kill people on my drive home from work for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, now I was actually, I was talking to Gelsey earlier, and I was like, now I feel that when people call me and I'm listening to it, I'm like, no, don't call me on the way home.
Christy Brew.
Hi, sorry, I'm multitasking. I read it so fast. As soon as it came out, I started reading it, and then the audiobook didn't come out. I don't know why my audiobook wouldn't come out, and then I just started reading the print and then finished with the audio.
Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy, and I read the book recently when I asked Michelle which book was it. So I probably read it maybe a few weeks ago. I think it was in December that I read it, but it was a quick read.
And I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Julie's?
Gelsey.
Okay.
I just knew it was going to be me the minute you said you didn't know if you were saying my name right. So.
Sorry.
Hi. I got here late, so I missed what we're just introducing.
Yeah, we're just, because there's new people, so everybody introduce themselves.
I'm new.
You're new.
Second book club. Hi, I'm Gelsey. Audria actually brought us on, me and Vanessa. So
she might join in late today.
Yeah, she is. She's putting him to bed. But I read it pretty much right after you announced that it was a book club pick. I got my hands on it and I read it. It was okay. We'll discuss.
And I think most of you on here did the holiday book exchange. Thank you for participating. Everyone got their books and everything was fine for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so we can start. First, did you guys like this book better or It Ends With Us better?
This one.
This one.
This one?
This one, yeah.
I guess I'm the minority because I liked Ends With Us more.
I did too. I did too.
I did too.
Yeah, I like the Ends With Us much better.
Yeah.
I was afraid to pick this one for the holiday time because I thought there was going to be the same domestic violence theme in it. And I was like, no one's going to want to read that during Christmas time. But then I read it and there was so little, there was nothing really compared to the other book that I was like, okay, I think we can do it. So those of you that like this one better, why did you like it better?
I love her story with Atlas. And just going more into the first book, getting more into that plot.
I gotta say, for me, one perk for this one was that there was only one letter to Ellen because I hated those letters to Ellen.
Yeah.
I was like, the whole book could have done without that. Or like, can't you just do like Dear Diary?
I think after reading a few books by her, she does that. I read Verity, that's by her, and another one, Reminders of Him. And that seems to be like her style, her flow
Like
throughout the books.
the diary part?
Yeah, like letters, like that theme of telling the story within the letters or using flashbacks and stuff like that. She uses that in all 4 of the books that I've read of hers. They've been like that.
The only other one I read is Ugly Love, and I don't remember if there was like letters or a journal. I don't think there was. But yeah, this one had the letters, which I preferred better than the diary to Ellen. Okay, so what is your interpretation of the title, It Starts With Us?
I think I took that from Atlas's point of view. Because it was kind of him starting his life and like reimagining with his little brother, I think is kind of the way I saw it. So it's kind of like they're both restarting their life in the way they saw it. But I think it was more from his point of view than
More
hers.
for him? Anyone else see it differently? I kind of took it was like them starting a new life together, like the 2 of them together.
Yeah, I mean, when I imagined it, I kind of pictured, I don't know, I just pictured something different than what it was. I don't know. It wasn't what I expected, I guess.
The book or the title?
Like the book matching the title.
Oh, okay.
The story itself.
What were you expecting?
I guess going based off of that domestic violence thing, I kind of expected them to maybe have like conflict with it in the sense of like they were kind of learning they both had that same background experience with parents with domestic violence. So in my mind, I kind of thought that's where that was headed. Like they both had to figure out how to have a relationship without the issues that they learned when they were children. I don't know if that makes sense. That's kind of where I thought it was headed. Like there was going to be conflict with it, and then they were going to learn how to deal with it.
Well, they kind of
did. They dealt with it, but I felt like there was the lack of conflict. Like there was something missing.
Yeah, the other one was way more intense than this one. This one was like I think it was Kathy that I was saying when she texted me. I'm like, this one just felt like a little bow to the story. Like there wasn't much drama.
Agreed. I enjoyed it because it felt like such a beautiful love story, right? I mean, such amazing love, but there was no conflict. And I gobbled it up. I mean, I read it very quickly, so I did enjoy it, but it truly was just a bow to the other one because it barely had conflict. But as far as the title goes, I felt like it was more about like they both started their love with each other. Like they both that was their first love. So I feel like no matter where they went in life, that's where that it started with them, and that's even where it's ending. So that's kind of how I took the title.
I agree. That's really pretty, do you think that this book focused too much on the new characters rather than Atlas and Lily's love story? Did you like the new characters?
I love Theo. I'm just gonna put my head. Theo was like the funniest character ever. I wanted more Theo.
Cool.
Yes.
I didn't care about anybody else in the book. Theo was just comic relief, and I just wanted I want a whole book on just like little Theo-ness because
He's the cook's son, right?
Adult.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
I think he's gonna
therapist.
be a hilarious adult.
When the first scene that he's like talking to a therapist, I read it thinking it was like an actual therapist, an adult, and when it turns out to be a child, I was cracking up.
Exactly. I love that. I thought that was cute.
Yeah,
But I thought the
I
brother
actually
was
preferred the Theo storyline over like the brother.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the brother.
I mean, it was okay for me. It wasn't. I didn't think like to me, I mean, it was nice, the fact that he found a brother and how he took him in. But I don't know. I guess, going back to I wasn't expecting like so much background on Atlas. I thought it was going to be more about their relationship. So whenever it would focus on that, I guess it caught me off guard, and it wasn't really what I was envisioning in the book.
I think she was trying to tell Atlas's story more on this one, but when there was all the like breaking into the restaurant and things, did anybody think that was Riley, or was that just me?
No.
No?
I think when she said like the way that he spelled, or asshole.
Yeah.
I think it just gave it away from me. I knew, like, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like some lost sibling.
Yeah.
That it was too predictable in my opinion. I felt like the book it didn't give me anything to imagine or inquire. Like I kept waiting for something to happen, and I even with the brother character, like I wanted more. Like he just all of a sudden was a good kid. Like I don't know, I needed like something more. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
It was predictable.
Yeah.
That it was going to be a kid, or like his family.
The book, as you read it, like she said, you're waiting to see if there's going to be a twist or a turn, but it was very predictable.
Was anybody expecting more? First, for me, I wanted more of Riley. Maybe not like an actual abusive scene, because those were really hard for me to read, I think, in the first one. But I expected like the only sort of abusive scene was when he hit the wall, when he went to her house, like right before she left in the doorway. I was expecting more interactions with him.
I was waiting. Like every time he came into the picture, I was like, okay, it's gonna happen now. Like something's gonna happen now. Like I was waiting for the big blowout, but she kind of never gave us that.
I was kind of like, he's too calm for it being such little time.
Right.
Especially at the end when they went to drop off the Emerson during the move, and Atlas was outside. I'm like, oof, he's coming out of the car. He's gonna form a scene, and he just stayed in the car.
Yeah.
And let the exchange happen with Atlas instead of, so that was, I don't know.
Did you want more of him?
Yeah.
I wanted more of him and his
repercussion
sister.
Like I wanted more repercussion for him. Like I wanted it to be like a big, maybe not hit her obviously, because those were very difficult to read, but like maybe he held her captive and punched the wall, but like hurt his surgeon hand and couldn't work, and then needed to go to rehab and had an epiphany, like, oh, this is what I've done, like something. And we didn't get that, so it just felt like wah wah wah. Now he's gonna be good all of a sudden, like
I feel like
I felt the same.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, oh, he's okay now.
And like the family is okay with it.
Yeah.
I wanted more with that intervention that they did. Like it left me wanting, like, okay, now what? Like he stands up and he leaves, but what comes of this? There was nothing came out of it. It was just they sat down and they talked, and he got up and he left. So, the only time we get anything from that is at the end when he's dropping the baby off, but then nothing else.
Does anybody know how long it took for her to write this? Because like I feel like it was just rushed. Like I feel like there was a lot of stuff missing, and maybe like fans just wanted it so badly that she felt like she just needed to write something. I don't know.
I felt the same way. I thought I know that she had never, I think I read that she had never intended to write a sequel. So I think that she was so focused on that first book that the second one was more of an afterthought, like you say, because the fans wanted it.
Yeah. She wrote this years later after the first one. Like the first one wasn't done a year ago, I believe. And you're right. She did do it because the fans requested, and it wasn't something she was planning to do, but I don't know how long it took her to write it. I know that she announced it, I think sometime last year. Like, does anybody else follow her on social media? That she was doing it, but I don't remember. I don't know if she started it before that.
It didn't seem as well thought out as the first one.
Yeah. Do you think Lily made the right decision by not revealing the domestic abuse in her custody battle? If you were in Lily's position, what would you have done? I would have totally reported it.
It's such a non-black and white thing, you know, because you just never know how that's gonna go. I think there's a
Anybody,
lot of variables here.
would
I
anybody?
mean, I agree with the fact that somebody has to be there with him while he's with the child. Like, he's still the father, so that's a tough one. But yeah, definitely there needs to be supervision.
Yeah, I agree. Would anybody not have reported it?
God knows, right? That hopefully none of us have been in that position, but and I haven't, so I can't say, but I kind of feel like at least the perspective she took was that she was doing it more for her daughter, because like she, as much as she wants to protect her daughter, she also wants her daughter to have a relationship with him, because he has a lot of good, right, in him, and she wants him to have a relationship. So if you scar her with, like, from the beginning, like, your dad is a abusive, blah blah blah, whatever, I think she maybe had that hope that he wouldn't be that way with his kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which I don't know if that's necessarily so black and white, but I think that's her vision. So if she had scarred him with that, with like an arrest, or, you know, then forever he would be tainted with that, and her daughter would be tainted with that vision of her dad. And she's trying to make a good relationship with the kid and her dad. So it's an interesting take.
You can also report it, like, kids won't know that there's an arrest report until they're way older.
Really?
They can actually like look it up, and by that time they already have a relationship with the dad.
Relationship.
I feel like it would have protected her if, God forbid, something would happen to the kid or to her in the future.
For sure.
But it also might have set him off. So it's like,
Yeah,
True.
she was
I
probably
think you
avoiding
really have to. I thankfully have never been in those shoes, but I think it's one of those you really have to be in those shoes and think about everything else, because if he was being calm, that might have just, you know, sent him in the downward spiral.
And probably her friendship with his sister and his family played into that too. Okay, next. I have a quote. Choices help me to realize that sometimes the hardest decisions a person can make will most likely lead to the best outcomes. What hard decisions did Lily and Atlas have to make? Did anyone else in the story have to make hard decisions?
I mean, I guess
think
with
the
Atlas, it was
sister-
like the brother. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I think his sister had to make a tough decision too, because, you know, she was deciding, and I really like that, I think, in the first book, where she says, you know, as his sister, I hope you guys make up, but as your best friend, you better never go back to him. So I think it was, you know, yeah, she does a really good job of keeping it separate and never imposing one thing, you know, on her or the other. So I think that had to have been a, you know, a hard decision for her.
I agree. Welcome, Audria. You haven't missed too much.
Okay, good. I made it.
We are talking about what hard choices did Lily and Atlas have to make, or anybody else in the story. I feel like his mom also had to make a hard choice, even though she was kind of selfish, but to give up the son to him for him to take care of him.
I don't know if that was a hard choice for the mom, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like she wasn't that much of a parent.
No, she wasn't. But she wanted him, but I think that was just her selfish, like, ego.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think it was more for selfish reasons, but I don't really feel like she had a hard time letting go. So I think that just shows, you know, the type of mom that she had been, not just to Theo, but to Atlas as well.
Yeah. Welcome, whoever just joined. I can't see who it is. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Did Riley's portrayal in It Starts With Us change your opinion of him at all?
Can you say that again?
Did Riley's portrayal in the first book. It ends with us. Change your opinion of him at all. I'm sorry, in this book, it starts with us. Change your opinion of him at all.
Not really. I never got the feeling. It's weird because I would read it and then I think, oh, you know, he's really truly sorry. But then he kept doing it. So it kind of always felt like his apologies towards the end were like not authentic.
Yeah.
Like he was just saying it because it was part of it, you know, like, oh, I messed up, so let me say I'm sorry. But he never made a change.
It was scary, even in this book, especially when they were upstairs on the roof. I'm like, oh my God, I wanted to cry.
What else did you find him scary? That scene at her house at the door is the one that scared me the most, but.
That one was scary, but I think the roof was scarier. Like for me, it was scarier. I was waiting for like something dramatic to happen. I'm like, oh my God, just run, get down. What are you doing up there? Get downstairs.
More about Riley. And it starts with us. We see Riley's same anger issues, but not to the same level. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, as in the first book. Do you believe him when he says he's changed?
No.
Mm-mm.
I feel like he's trying, but it's kind of, I mean, you need therapy or something to
I
really.
just don't think, right, I don't think he had enough intervention therapy. I don't think enough time has passed. I don't think there was enough, and you know, there wasn't enough talked about like what he was doing to get better. And granted that, you know, the story wasn't about him, but there wasn't much talk about that. So I think it's really hard to gauge if there was going to be some kind of improvement or not.
Okay, sorry, go Lindsay.
I felt that there was like a disconnect because like in the other book, we get the story of what happened to him, you know, and why he was like that. But there was nothing that kind of like tied it together. So it was like, okay, this happened over here and this is why I'm like this, but there was never anything in the middle, like you're saying, like there was no therapy talk about it or anything, you know, that maybe a little bit more background into what had happened that led him up to this. I don't know. It just seemed kind of like I'm just justifying why he's doing this by telling you this happened. But it seemed disconnected to me.
I agree. I had a hard time in both books with his character. I didn't like him from the very beginning. And I think I told Gelsis this when I was reading. I was like, they need to either kill him off, like move far, far, far away. But I think one of the things that like bothered me so much in this book, there's a scene where I think he has the key to her house and he goes in and they're like talking, he brings her takeout or something like that. And he was like, oh, can I open this bottle of wine and pour you a glass? I was like, are you serious? Like I was so upset at that point. And I think that shows that he wasn't really that changed, because I think if that would happen, he had that extreme behavior when he was drunk or drinking. That shouldn't even be like an option, something that he's even entertaining to open a bottle of wine. I don't know.
He's still trying to control her.
Yeah, I needed him to move far, far away or get killed off, and he did.
Tina, are you waving? Oh no, okay. Do you feel
Sorry, I was waving to somebody else. I come in a parking lot. I'm sorry.
Do you feel like the characters in the book, and maybe even us as readers, accept Riley's bad behavior or like, oh, he's trying because he's a successful surgeon versus like a deadbeat without a job who is just like leeching off her or something?
I think so at all. I think it was so scary that he's a surgeon. That freaked me out.
Right. That's what we were talking about. We're talking about how many other people you come in contact with that are in a position of, you know, control or power over whether it's your healthcare or, you know, police or social workers, or you just don't know what they're doing at home. They can seem like this perfectly great person and goes home and beats his girlfriend or wife. And that's really scary.
And usually those people are very charming to begin with. So
exactly,
disguise it. We have a psychologist in the group here. Kathy, you're nodding.
No, I am not a psychologist.
You studied psychology. You're a counselor. It's close. Okay. Colleen Hoover said, "It starts with us would answer all your questions about Atlas. Do you understand him better? And what questions are you still left with?"
My whole thing was just that he was too perfect. Like, I wanted there to be something wrong with him, and there wasn't. So that was the only thing. Like, okay, you went through all this and yet you're perfect. Like, how? I mean, I get he went to the military or whatever he did, and he became a cook, and now that's how his whole life became great, but there was still some
I completely
mistakes there.
agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I had the same, and I love it because I like fairy tale world, but he just, he's too perfect. There was nothing wrong with him, which is wonderful for the book. But
Perfect men don't
It
exist.
just-
Your husbands aren't
it
perfect.
just-
Yeah, he needed like a skeleton in his class. I mean, the brother
Right.
was sort of, but it wasn't really like a skeleton. I feel like he needed something. I agree.
Mhm.
He's still perfect.
I think
He
it was
just, like baboso, like I don't know, I don't know how to say it in English. Like he was just like so much. It was like, okay, give me something, like like
Mhm.
just like oh.
And he was
I don't
so
know. I think it was a nice contrast
Yeah.
to, you know,
Too
to she
much.
had you too much, you think? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I
That-
felt like
the
so
vows
bad
at
for
the
her.
Those vowels were like, I couldn't get through it.
I didn't like the vows. He's talking about divorce the whole time. I'm like, how does this make any sense? Call me crazy, but I did not like those vows
I
at
didn't like
all.
them either.
I said they're horrible.
What'd you think of the letters, the
Maybe
back
if she
like
had-
letters?
I'm sorry, maybe she had filled in a little bit more of like, I know she said he went to the military and blah blah blah, but if she had filled in like, he went through a couple of like bad relationships, like where they weren't good, or he learned from it. I guess I just needed something to fill that gap of how he got to be. So
Yeah, it sounded like he never even had a relationship after Lily. Like, it was literally Lily, nothing, and then Lily again. Like,
I was
because
gonna
it's
say
like, oh, I
that.
never heard of him having a girlfriend or anything, and it's just like,
Like, did
He
he
does.
even
He says
date,
in
or
the
was he
book
just
that-
obsessed with her?
No, but he does say in the
Did
book that
say
he
he
had other
dated.
relationships. Yeah,
Yes.
he does say that, but we don't get
They
anything
do
from
mention.
it. So I needed more.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see maybe some conflict with him, like in a relationship, like when he told her in the first book. I read the books back to back, so they're like blending in. I think it was in the first book when he saw her, he said that he was like in a relationship. I feel like that would have been good if he actually was, and maybe that was like some sort of conflict, like him going back and forth with whoever he's with at the time, going back to Lily. I don't know, maybe something like that, at least for some conflict.
Anybody else? What did you think about him taking his brother? I thought it was like too quick of a decision.
I mean, I think it was necessary. I don't think there was another option. I mean, he had already experienced what his mom was capable of. So I feel like he knew what was going to happen to him, and he couldn't see that. So that part I agreed with. I really think that it was necessary, and there was no other option for him.
The taking him was on, like, obviously, yes, he had to do that, but you're taking in a teenager who has issues. There's no way that went that smoothly. So that was kind of like, yeah, that doesn't happen. That's not, it needed
More drama.
He needed to let
Right,
go
the
of those-
drama. We're missing the
It's like,
drama.
yeah, because he's gonna have emotions and feelings. I mean, he's not with his mom, regardless of who she is or what she is. There needed to be something more there.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you think that Lily, Atlas, and Riley could all make co-parenting together work in the future for Emerson?
No.
I think that's going to be a hard one.
I mean, we need him to go to therapy first. Anybody else?
I kind of feel that it'll probably get worse before it gets better. Like, I can't imagine them being, a happy family or co-parenting. Like, I don't see it.
It would be hard to trust him alone with a little girl.
No, and I also think that Riley has such a huge chip on his shoulder when it comes to Atlas that I think that that would be a very difficult one for him to get past.
Do you think she would have picked Atlas if Riley would have like lived up to her image of him?
Like if he wouldn't have been abusive?
Yeah. Do you think like she would have gone for Atlas when he showed up again or stayed with Riley? Because she really liked him in the beginning. Or do you think like
Yeah.
Atlas was always it?
I think if he wasn't abusive, she would have stayed with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he was her one true love.
Because she really loved him until he became abusive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because in the first book, even when she went to see him after the abuse, like she said, I still won't do anything. Like she still didn't do anything with him just because of the fact that she was married. And so she respected that part. So I think she really cared for him.
Probably wouldn't have broken up her family
No.
because that
Yeah.
was very important to her.
Anybody else? Ali, you're quiet. I'm gonna call you out.
Sorry, my laundry is going, so it's.
Oh. I'm like, you're chatty. Talk to us.
I have a question that is really dumb, but I have been calling him Ryle the whole time, not Riley.
I don't know how to say it.
Know how to pronounce it? Because I just assumed that it was like Kyle with an R.
Oh, maybe.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryle, and then
yeah.
Riley, I think is the daughter. Like,
Yeah,
I go
Riley's
back
the
and forth.
daughter.
I don't know how to say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, Ryle.
Ryle.
Yeah.
It's such
Okay.
a
I was
weird
calling
name.
him Riley until they said they named the little girl Riley with the E at the end. And I was like, oh, so maybe it is Ryle. So
I listened to the audiobook and that's how they say it. They say
Ryle?
Ryle in the audiobook. Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
then-
you. I'll say Ryle now.
That's,
I'll try.
that's my very dumb question, but it's driving me crazy. I'm like, how do you say it? Have I been saying it in my head wrong the whole time? You know, when you have a picture in your head when you're reading a book.
Every time I say it, I'm like Riley, Ryle. I don't know.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with the ending of Lily and Atlas's story?
Yeah.
Kelsey, you're shaking your head. No, why?
I don't know. First of all, I didn't like that it ended with those horrible vowels. That like was just like a blow for me. I wanted like something like, I don't know. I know it's very romantic that he bought this house with the garden and stuff for her, but I kind of wanted them to start their life together where they found their place and they kind of did everything jointly, and it wasn't like her again just kind of like going into a guy's place, if that makes sense, you know. I wanted more, so I feel like I wanted to see a fast forward to like where they were in like 2 or 3 years down the line. Like skip the wedding and those vows and just tell me like what happened. Like fast forward and say maybe she's a writer now because that's what she said she wanted to do, and you know they're living a different dream. And
Ask
Yeah,
her
I
for
kinda-
help.
it was just very flatline for me. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
kind of
a
wanted
Leo,
like
but
an
it just didn't-
epilogue, like what happened after. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, maybe that's like how the first book basically ended with what the title was. It ends with us about her and her daughter. This ending is like, it starts with us about her
Their-
and their life together really starting.
But I agree that it was like flatline, like in the sense of like, I
Yeah.
think if there would have been more conflict or drama, then they would have been like, oh yay, they're together finally. Like but it was just kind of like they're together. Everything's great. Everything's great. They got married. Okay, the end. So that's like how I felt. And then instead of being like, oh no, there's a problem. Okay, now they got to solve it. Oh yeah, they solved it. Like that's what I was waiting for.
Like all the problems was in the first book, and they were just like, now they're happily ever after. We want to give you the happy story.
That's it. That was the happily ever after the entire book.
Well,
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel the book was. Sorry, you know, like we were saying, she, you know, said she never intended to write a sequel to it. This was just basically like a fan service book. Like, okay, you wanted more, here's
Here it
more
is.
happily ever after, goodbye.
And people criticized her for it after they asked for it.
Yeah.
They're like, you're doing this as a moneymaker. Well, you kind of asked her for it.
But
Right.
if you really think about it, like the whole first book, everything was perfect except for those 3 bad incidents.
Mhm.
Like essentially the whole book was like he was amazing and everything was so great except for those 3 incidents that happened. So there was, this last book was kind of pretty much the same thing. Like everything in the book is amazing except for the 2 incidents that she has with him that aren't really even that serious.
But also the Atlas
those three
background story was dramatic in the first book.
Yeah.
those 3 incidents in the first book like peaked, it was like you can't get any emotional. It was like, oh my god, like the first he hit her, I closed the book. I was like, what just happened? Like what's going on here? Like I wasn't expecting it. It was out of left field for me.
Me too.
So
And that's funny because I thought that
I
she was
literally-
overreacting in the book. Like it seemed like it was an accident the first time.
Oh my God,
I
no.
was like shocked.
Yeah. From the moment, I mean, I have an issue with this character, obviously. From the moment that he kicked the chair in the first scene on the rooftop, I was like, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope, red flag, nope, walk away, walk away. Yeah.
I kept telling Audrey, he sounds hot. Give her a second.
Mm-mm. I was like,
You
this
were
guy
right.
has issues. He just kicked that chair. No, nope, nope.
Like, the last time he abused her, that was the time that she went to the hospital that she was like bleeding, but she still stayed sleeping there, right? Or no, that's when she ran away to Atlas. There's one time that she stayed sleeping with him after
The
he
second
beat
time.
her, and I was like, how are you in the bed with this person?
That was the second time, wasn't it? When he like pushed her down the
Yeah.
stairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that she could have not written the second book and I would have been content. I think that, when at the end of the first book, when she ran into him in the street, that to me was like the sign that they were going to get together. And I was just like content in knowing like, eventually this relationship is going to happen when the time is right. And I kind of feel like the second book was just kind of like, for me.
I agree. Like it was nice to see how they continued, but like we didn't really need it.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't add value for me.
And I was so surprised that there were so many new characters in this one.
I think sometimes less is more, and this is a good example of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes as readers, like we think we want to know more, but like once we're shown it, then it kind of kills that mystery, and you kind of sort of could interpret it in your own way, and maybe that's sometimes better. I think that's a lot of the fun of reading too. Like you can sort of imagine yourself what their life would have ended up like, and we don't really need to know, all the details.
I kind of felt bad for them because, okay, she already has Emerson, that's her daughter that he's gaining. And now he has his little brother as like an extra kid. So they're starting off this relationship with 2 kids in the house, one of which is neither one of their kids. And like, I don't know, I feel like that's probably hard to start something with so much baggage and drama attached to it, because it's not like, especially the brother, is not like his son or her stepson. Like he's nothing of hers.
And now that I think about it, there was, at the end, it was kind of like a weird thing because Theo says, oh, where's Josh? And then they said, oh, don't worry about it. He's doing something. I don't know what like that ending was now that I think about it. Right? At the end?
What was he doing?
I don't know. They said that he was like making out with a girl or something, and it was kind of like a weird, like, what?
I don't remember that, but I read it in like October.
Kelsey's is looking at it.
So listen.
That's me.
It was like one of the last things in the last chapter. And I was like,
think
oh, okay.
during the wedding, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he was just off being a player, 15 years old. Acabando.
But it was just like a really random, like I thought something was gonna, like I thought he was gonna do like a surprise or something for him, and he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, he's off doing something. And then I was like, okay. You're still looking for it.
he's at baseball practice at one point, but I don't see where he's like.
No, it's literally the last chapter. It's
Yeah,
like
Yeah, it was like
I
right
think
before
it's
the
actually
vows,
beginning of that
wasn't it?
last chapter.
What are you trying to remember? Sorry, I walked away. The when he was making out with a girl.
Yeah, was that
Was-
it? That
that-
was all he was doing at the end
Oh,
of
it's
the
here. Where's Josh? I need
Yeah,
to
it's
make
while-
sure he's ready. I'm not
It's while he
supposed
was
to
getting
tell
ready for the
you.
wedding.
He was in the gazebo with his tongue down some girl's throat.
I don't remember
He's gonna
this.
make you a granddad soon.
It
Yeah,
It
was
was
just so
just that one
random, but I was
line at
like,
the end.
That's what it was. It was the one-liner that he's gonna make you a granddad soon.
yeah.
oh,
I-
okay.
I did like the part where like he's filling out the family tree, and they, he comes to this realization of just starting like a little branch, and that to me was very cool. And I like how it's just like everybody's family tree doesn't have to look the same. I thought that was a really cool little thing that she added in the book. But I thought again, Theo was just too, not Theo, Josh he was too good, even for this kid that's had a crappy childhood. There was nothing like, he wasn't rebellious, he wasn't like sticking out, like nothing happened.
I do like how she made it that like that he goes to the pride parade with Theo. Like I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
Like a sweet way of kind of showing that even though this kid grew up in all these issues and has had a crappy life, he was still a really good friend.
His brother's rubbing off on him.
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite part of the book. Lily wrote letters to Ellen, and it ends with us. Do you think the letters to Ellen were necessary to highlight in the sequel? Again, I was just happy there was only one. Did anybody like the letters to Ellen?
I mean, they were neither here nor there for me, but I think it was nice for her to be able to give them to Atlas so that he could see things through her eyes and see, like what was going on. So I thought that was cute.
That
Like
part was
way to tie him in.
writing to Ellen was highly annoying.
I mean, it didn't need to be to Ellen, like what you said. Like it could have been just Dear Diary, and that
Yeah.
would have been probably better. But
I think I just found this so weird. Like, why are you writing to her and then never mailing them? Like,
You're Theo. You were making fun of the whole like fish and swimming and
yes, I couldn't take it. Every time I would turn the page and like Dear Ellen would show up, I was like, oh God, here we go again.
I saw it as like a Dear Diary, so it didn't necessarily bother me one way or the other. But I actually find it funny that she was willing to give that to him, because I find that so, I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but I'm thinking of like things that I would have written in a diary as a kid, and I'm like, I don't even want to read it. Like I don't want anyone on the planet to ever read it. I want to burn it and not have anybody read it, let alone your other half. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I find that odd that she shared it.
It was a way of letting him like into her more like interpersonal thoughts that she probably couldn't communicate or was embarrassed to talk about.
and that was kind of another thing because she was like 15, I think, when she wrote those, and just like her mentality was so grown up in what she said that it was also off a little bit in that. But I agree, it's cringe. Like I could imagine thinking about what I would say when I was 15. Like, no.
I don't know. For me, I saw it as a good way to tie in like the reason all of these things happened. Like each time Ryle went off on her was because it had something to do with Atlas. And like the last one wasn't it that he found the actual journals and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So, I guess it was kind of a way of looking at it and saying, okay, like this ended my marriage, but it was
worth it.
about you. So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe
I like that he wrote
pulling
her.
at straws.
I thought that was
Yeah.
cute. She started writing her little notes.
I like that she fell asleep on the date. That was hilarious. I'm like, my daughter's almost 3, and that would totally be me right now if I had to go on a date. Like,
Yeah, years into it, not in your first date with him. After you've been waiting,
No,
like,
honestly, thank God I'm married, because if I had to go on a date right now, I would probably fall asleep on a long car ride.
you take a nap before. Do you think Marshall made the right decision to stay with Alyssa after she had cheated on him? That was just like a small storyline.
Yeah, it happened when they were in college, right? Or
Yeah, they were in college and they were like, it was a long distance relationship or something like that. Like,
yeah.
It was like a kiss. It wasn't like they didn't have sex. It was not. I think she said it was a one-time thing. I don't know.
Did anybody feel like we didn't get enough of them compared to how much we had about them in the first book?
I wanted more of the four of them.
Me too.
With
Yeah.
Atlas, I wanted to see a relationship with them and Atlas
Yeah.
Me too.
and see how that went, you know.
Like, I liked when she was crying in the hallway and like Marshall came and sat with her. I thought that was sweet, but they didn't show them as, like you said, like a foursome, or even just as like her partners. They were just like the babysitters on the sideline this time. And in the first book, they were more of main characters. Anybody else? Anybody? I liked Alyssa.
I did like Alyssa. I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
like, when they did the intervention and she just told her brother, she's like, I love you, but I will, you know, help her get a lawyer if she needs it and everything. So she was addressing him, like saying, like, I am going to help her and protect, you know, my niece as much as I can.
Like, she was a good friend, even in this book, like the little bit that we saw of her. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? We have 10 more minutes.
I wanted more when they went to see Josh's dad.
Yeah.
You know, that whole that he didn't even get off, he didn't say anything.
That too, I was expecting a conflict. Like,
I was, yeah, some type of conflict. Yeah, something. Get off, like we'll talk to him cursing, I don't know, something like, or him staying there and then calling him, you know, come back, I made a mistake. Something.
I think everybody agrees that we didn't have enough drama.
I mean, it was a beautiful thing to watch that scene unfold, though, because I thought it was cool to watch how the kid was struggling with what to do, and he was looking for Atlas to tell him what to do, and Atlas was trying not to desperately, you know. But so it was a beautiful thing, but it was very non. I felt like the click was inside of Josh, which was, I think, well done. For all of the lack of conflict in the story, I thought that one was kind of cool.
Which one? The one with Josh?
Just watching him in the car, like waiting, like not getting out and not knowing what to do, and, you know, seeing that he has a car and that he didn't go get him, and just making that whole decision on his own. I thought it was actually kind of cool to watch the conflict within himself without actually, you know, talking to the dad. Just the conflict within himself, I thought was kind of well portrayed. For the lack of conflict everywhere else, that part I was kind of okay with.
Yeah, because it was more of like the inner turmoil.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very mature.
Especially for a kid.
Almost too mature.
It was too mature. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It's mature.
So
But do you think it was kind of showing like the effect that Atlas would have on him, or was already having on him? Like, to a certain extent, like, this is the better decision. He's staying with him, you know, like it's actually rubbing off on him. He's showing him, you know, what his future could be instead of going the other route.
I agree, because
I agree,
it was
yeah,
explosive.
I think like deep down he already knew that his dad was not the best. I just feel like he felt maybe when he saw him, it would change, something would like click, and it just didn't. So that's why he's like, forget it. I don't know.
Anyone else?
It
So
also
we
blew my mind. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, it also blew my mind that like such an awful woman, like Atlas's mom, had two such like amazing kids. Like, I don't know how they just both came out like such good people, you know, from their origins. It's like, it was hard for me to understand, like, wow, like how did both of them, you know, come out so good and she just is awful.
They wanted better for themselves probably and their families. I mean, he lived like in a abandoned house. It's like those people like you like see movies, like there's nowhere else to go, but this is like the bottom. So you gotta make things better for yourself for the future, or you're just gonna end up homeless.
I like that it was kind of a parallel, like what Lily was for Atlas, Atlas was for Josh.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Okay, so did you guys like it? What was like the overall vote now that we've discussed it? Yes, no, like a 3 out of 5.
It was a good read to
Think
get me
3.
through my Christmas break. So
It was entertaining. Like it wasn't
it was
dramatic.
an
Like I
easy
said,
read.
it was like a little bow to their story is how I took it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like the conclusion to the original story.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. I felt like it was like a long-winded conclusion to the original story. So it felt like on its own wasn't much, but I enjoyed feeling the fairy tale ending for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I certainly didn't hate it. Like, I don't think I would have finished it
No.
if I hated it. I thought it was entertaining, but you know, it didn't blow my mind either.
I think we were all expecting probably like such huge drama from the first one. It was like so intense. Like if you would have probably picked this up without reading the first one, you've been like, oh, it's a nice story. But like the first one was so intense that we're like, we're missing that.
For sure. And you even, and again, I did like Ryle until obviously what happened, but I liked his character for a lot of for whatever reason. I did enjoy it. And he had so much more dimension, I felt like, in the other book. In this book, he was like non-existent. He was like completely one-dimensional. And I kind of missed that. I felt like Atlas ended up being so one-dimensional. He's so perfect that it was a little respect. But again, when you see it as one long book, then it's okay, because it feels like it's just concluding the bad. I don't know. That's my
I was
thought.
waiting for like a big conflict between him and Atlas. Like one big blowout.
For sure.
Like, this is how I want you to treat my daughter and my ex-wife, or she's still mine, kind of like blowout.
Right.
But we did get a confrontation, but Atlas just de-escalated it.
Yeah.
Completely, like too perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, so want to take the pictures with our books? And I wanted to say, I kind of do these so you guys can meet each other and like get to know each other and have more women circles. So if anybody wants to follow each other on social media, if you want to leave your username in the chat, then everybody else can follow you along. I don't know if that's something you guys want, but if you do, I'm going to do it first. Okay. Now, our pictures.
Wait, hold on. I'm getting the book.
Putting it up.
I'm
Okay.
trying to.
Okay, I have to do this like screenshot thing.
I'm trying to get a picture of it because my book is up there somewhere.
What are you doing? Downloading a picture?
I'm just looking for an image of it.
That's the same thing that I did. This is like a Google image.
Yeah,
I feel like mine is too bright, right? Is it the brightness is like too much?
I have to turn the light on in the car. I don't even know if you can see.
Are you
anything.
driving?
Yes, I'm driving, holding
Do
the
not-
book, holding the phone.
Do not get in the
Let me
picture.
turn the brightness down.
Oh,
Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Kathy, ready? Okay.
I got it.
Ooh, look, red light.
Smile. I'm gonna do it again. Okay, I got everybody smile. Perfect. Thank you. Now, our next book is So our next book was recommended by two people who read, but have not really been part of like the discussions. One has come a few times and the other one reads but can never make it. One of them recommended it like back in October, but she was like, I don't think it's a good read for the holidays. And then another one recommended it recently. I was trying to look for something that wasn't a rom-com because I feel like we've read like 3 or 4 back-to-back rom-coms. And this one, I think will make us think a little bit. And it is The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. Has anyone read it already? No, no, good.
My mom just read it and she liked it. So
She liked it?
yeah, she liked it a lot.
Oh, awesome. The premise is that everyone wakes up one day and there's a little box next to them, whether they're rich or poor, live in the desert or whatnot. And if you open the box, I believe there's a string that measures the length of your life. So it follows 8 people. Some of their lives intersect, some open the box and some don't, and how like that decision changes the way they live. If anybody wants to order it, I have the link. I'm using the chat thing.
And when's the next meeting?
Okay, and then the next meeting is March 15th, and the author will be here. So
Oh, yay.
we have an author
Cool.
next time.
Very cool.
That is like super cool, by the way. This is my first book club,
What?
so to
Oh.
have like the author here is just added like fun.
Yeah, were you here at the last time we had an author? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but I
So-
cheated because I didn't get to read the book.
it's okay.
I just joined.
It's okay. I asked all of them. Some of them have declined in the past. Like we've had Chanel Clinton twice, and then we read one of her books this year and she passed because she was in the middle of a deadline. I asked Colleen Hoover too. She doesn't reply to emails or messages or her publicist. Nobody responds to anything. But a lot of them are very responsive. Some of them decline, like Jodi Picoult also declined because she was busy, but I try to get all of them. It just depends on. So if we don't have one, it's because they declined, because I always ask. So I think it's really cool to see how they wrote and get their perspective on the story and get to ask them questions. But then when we get to speak without them, I think it's a little bit more candid sometimes too. So I kind of like the mix. Does anybody prefer
Yeah,
one way or the other? No?
I
So
love
you
hearing
should
from
do
the
half an
author.
hour. You should do half an hour before the author gets here and you speak candidly, and then the other half an hour with the
Them.
author.
But even that, like when we have the author, sometimes it's like the hour and I feel bad because like, I feel like you guys can just click off if you have to, but the authors have already committed. So I feel bad if we take too much of their time. And as it is, sometimes we ask them so many questions that it's like the hour and we're like trying to get a few more questions in. But then there's other people that have said, I feel timid to speak when the author's on, so I don't really like it. So I guess it's good to have a mix in a way.
I
For
like
what it's worth, I love it when the author's there. 'Cause
You do,
I think
yay.
this is great too, because like you said, you're more candid, but I just think it's so fascinating to get in the head of somebody. You know, you read this book and you always, to me, the author is very, what's the word? I don't know, like it feels very far away. It feels like, you know, not a human, not a regular person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're able to hear their thoughts of how they put it together, I think it's fascinating.
I think it's made me like some of the books more, like the last one with Hannah Orstein. Like I liked the book. I thought it was really cute, but after hearing her and how the book came to be and like her whole you know, hearing her thoughts, I liked it even more.
I felt like that about Lucky. I don't know if you were already joined us when we read. Lucky.
Yeah, I was on
Like,
that one too. The
It was,
same.
like it was cute, but then I really liked the author. She was so sweet and she
Yeah.
was so down to earth. I remember she came on late and she sent me like a DM. I'm at Costco. I'm running late. I'll be here in 10 minutes. I was like, wow.
Yeah, she was great.
She was really nice. So since you guys like knowing about the authors, I don't know if anybody checks the website, Bella Vida Styles. I do things other than the books, but I'm starting to, well, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get, but do interviews with authors that either don't come to the book club or books that I read that are not book club picks. So I put on the stories, if anybody has any question that you would ask an author, what would it be? If the story is gone, just DM me, because I want to be able to ask things that other people would be interested in. And we already have the first one, and it's the author from 100 Other Girls. Chrissy, did you end up reading that one?
Not yet, but I downloaded it.
It's really cute. It's like a modern day Devil Wears Prada. So that's it. Anybody have anything else they want to share? Say hi. She's so cute.
She wants to know who I'm talking.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, good night. Great meeting everybody. Bye.
Likewise.